Welcome back to the Los Alamitos preview show. Before we get into the handicapping of the final 5 races here for Friday night, Orlando Gutierrez took a turn back to the past. We had a very familiar figure at the Los Alamitos Equine Sale here last week. Danny Cardoza, one of the greatest jockeys in the history of Los Alamitos, was here to oversee the sale with his connections and also to talk about the past and the many great memories for Danny Cardoza.
Well, we're happy to be joined by one of the all-time great jockeys in quarter horse racing history. I'm talking, of course, of Danny Cardoza, former all-time leading jockey here at Los Alamitos Racecourse, but absolutely still one of the greats. Danny, can we take this time to kind of talk about your early years in the sport? How did you get involved in quarter horse racing?
Well, when we were kids, we did rodeos and stuff and team roped a lot, and that's how I got involved in the quarter horse deal. And when I was in high school, I went to Tulare, California to help Don Ferris break colts and work for him. And then that spring, he sent me to Bay Meadows to work for Earl Holmes, who at the time trained horses for Bessel Stallion Farm and stuff. And that's how I got my start in 1968, working for Earl Holmes at Bay Meadows. And then we come down to Los Alamitos after that and started branching out, and I got really lucky and got to ride some really good horses.
And you also worked for Dr. Allred back in the days, right?
Yes, I did. When I retired from riding, I was riding for Doc Allred, and he sent me to his ranch, and I spent 2 years there breaking and training his horses there at the ranch, and I'd send them in to Bruce Hawkinson, who trained for him at the time, and we had a really good relationship, and Doc was excellent to work for.
Well, let's rewind a little bit. Do you recall the first race that you ever rode?
Yes, I do. The first pari-mutuel race I ever rode was at Bay Meadows in 1968. It was the first night race ever run in the state of California, and it was on a horse called Teddy Bear 2. The trainer's name was Ed Brooks. He was also a California native, and like I said, it was the first night race ever run in the state of California there at Bay Meadows.
Now, you rode some all-time greats, right? Dash's Dream is the one that immediately comes to mind. Can you talk a little bit about Dash's Dream and also some of your other favorites that you rode over the years?
Yeah, Dash's Dream, she was my favorite. I mean, without a doubt, she was the smartest horse that I ever rode my entire life, bar none. I don't care if it's a saddle horse, a pony horse, or race horse. She was so smart, it was unbelievable. And she's always been my favorite. You know, she went undefeated as a 3-year-old and was world champion in '84, and then come back and win the championship that same year in '84. You know, as a 3-year-old running against old horse, 3-year-old filly, you know, and she beat the older horses. So she was outstanding. Gold Coast Express, I won the champion of champions on him also. He was quite a bit different horse. He was not a very smart horse. He didn't want to run. He had to be made to run every single time. You know, he'd rather do something stupid than run. And then Pie in the Sky, when I won the All-American on him, he was one of the exceptions also. He was the first 2-year-old I ever rode that I really thought could go a quarter of a mile with that class of horses.
Then you went on to have a very successful training career. I mean, one that comes to mind is Old Habits. Dashing Nude as well?
Yes, Dashing Nude, Old Habits, Hateful Hannah. She was the 870 champion that year that I had her as a 3-year-old, running her with old horses also. Your First Moon, I won the Los Alamitos Million with Your First Moon and Dashing Nude. Old Habits, he was a different kind of horse and different kind of owners. That's they put a syndicate together with 10 women, and it was really a lot of fun dealing with that horse. He was quite a challenge to train, but the women that were behind that horse, I mean, it was unbelievable. We really had a lot of fun, you know, and you know, a lot of that, you know, was out there at Bessel Stallion Farm when I was working there, and also I got to ride First Down Dash as a 2-year-old for Mike Robbins. And as a 3-year-old, James Lackey rode him because Blaine Swanevelt wound up getting him, and they win the champion of champions with him, and he was champion 3-year-old and champion 3-year-old stud colt also that year. But he made $800,000 when Mike Robbins had him, and I was riding him. He only made $200,000 when Blaine and Lackey rode him, and he wasn't world champion, but he made more money then. Yeah.
Take us back now to the present. What are you up to now?
I manage a ranch for John Andrini in a small town called Piscinas. It's south of Hollister, about an hour, up in the Diablo Mountain Range. And we're basically market breeders. We breed and raise horses and bring them here to the sales now. And it's kind of like a reunion for me. I get to come back and see my old friends and old buddies, and And I really enjoy it, and I still stay quite a bit involved with the breeding program of the quarter horses and stuff. I really love it. I enjoy it.
Los Alamitos a special place to you?
Los Alamitos is special. You know, it was my home for 36 years. I rode here for 26 years and trained here for 10 years, and you know, 36 years doing something in one place, that's quite outstanding, you know, and I loved it, and I still love it.
Well, thanks, Orlando. Always good to see Jockey. I still call him Jockey Danny Cardoza because when I started back here in the 1970s, he was among the best of the best at that time. Certainly a great man to have around.
I used to, when I was very young, well, right now I'm old, but I remember Danny Cardoza. He was one of those riders where I could actually depend on whenever he was on a live horse, and many times he was on many live horses throughout his career.
One thing about it is you and I are getting older. You know what that means? Danny's getting older too, but we don't want
Okay,
to tell
yeah.
Danny that because
You're
we don't
right,
want to remind
yeah.
him that he is older than you and I, but he certainly looked great here,
Wow,
and
he was.
glad to see him at the Los Alamitos Equine Sale.